Hey everyone, I'm Adam. I'm 30 years old, and I've been dealing with a mess I never expected. Honestly, I'm here hoping I can get some clarity because I'm lost. And honestly, I don't even know if I can forgive myself for what happened. I've spent the past few weeks in this emotional limbo, angry, sad, confused, ashamed, all of it at once. But I need to start somewhere, so I guess this is where I'll begin. I'll give you the background first, so you understand where I'm coming from. I'm the oldest of three siblings. Growing up, I was always the one who helped out when things went wrong, whether it was financially or emotionally. My younger brother Eric has always been the one to coast through life, never really taking anything seriously. And my sister, Emma, she's smart, a bit of a perfectionist, but she's been struggling with her own demons for a long time. I get along with them both, but if I'm being honest, I've always felt like the caretaker. Enter my cousin, Sophia. She's more like a little sister to me. I'm close with her family, especially because we grew up together. She's a year younger than me, and we've always been there for each other, through breakups, bad grades, and stupid fights with our parents. But recently things got complicated. Sophia's always been a bit reckless, but I never thought it would get this bad. A couple of months ago, she started dating this guy, Ethan. To be clear, I didn't like him from the start. I'm not one of those protective cousin types, but Ethan rubbed me the wrong way. He was cocky, arrogant, and the way he treated Sophia didn't sit well with me. But she was smitten, and honestly, I was just hoping she'd come to her senses. But that didn't happen. Instead, things escalated. Sophia moved in with Ethan pretty quickly, within 6 weeks of dating, if you can believe it. I tried to tell her to slow down, but I could tell she was infatuated. It didn't help that Ethan was constantly buying her extravagant gifts, taking her out on expensive dates, and making her feel like she was the center of his world. I wasn't naive. I knew he was trying to win her over with money, but Sophia was in love, or at least she thought she was. And that's where things started to get dangerous. A couple of months ago, I got a call from Sophia. She sounded frantic, something I'd never heard from her before. She asked me to meet her at a cafe. When I arrived, she was already sitting at a table, her face pale and drawn. She didn't look like herself, and I immediately felt a pit in my stomach. "Adam, I need your help," she said, her voice trembling. She handed me a stack of bills. I glanced at them, and my stomach dropped. These weren't ordinary bills. These were overdue notices, some of them threatening to send things to collections. "How bad is this?" I asked, already bracing myself for the worst. It's bad," she admitted, choking on the words. "Ethan, he's been using my name for everything. All his debts, his credit cards, the car loan, everything. He's put it all under my name. I didn't know, Adam. I didn't know until it was too late." My mind raced. Ethan, this guy I never trusted, had been running up bills in Sophia's name for months. I could feel my anger rising. I knew she had a tendency to be impulsive, but this was beyond reckless. "What the hell were you thinking, Soph?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I didn't know how to. I didn't want you to think I was stupid," she said, looking down at the table. She sounded broken, and in that moment, I realized how much of this was about her own pride. "But Adam, I can't fix this on my own. I'm not good at this stuff. I don't know what to do. Please, you're the only one who can help me." I felt a pang of sympathy. I'd always been the responsible one in our family. If anyone could solve this, it was me. But then my mind started to race. How much money were we talking? How far had Ethan pushed her into debt? I pulled out my phone and did a quick calculation. The total was $44,000. My heart sank. I didn't have that kind of money just lying around, but I knew I could figure it out. I had a good job, some savings, and some assets I could liquidate. But I also knew this wasn't just about the money. This was about Sophia. She was in too deep, and I didn't know if I could save her from herself. "Sophia," I said, forcing my voice to stay steady. "I'll help you. But this is going to take everything I have. I'm not sure how I'm going to pull this off, but I'll do whatever it takes." She burst into tears, relief flooding her face as she reached out and hugged me. "I swear, I'll pay you back. I will. I just need time," she sobbed. I didn't want to believe her. I didn't want to make promises I couldn't keep, but I didn't know how to say no. I was already in too deep. I wasn't just helping her pay off the debt. I was about to become entangled in a mess I wasn't sure I could get out of. And that's when the first crack in our relationship appeared. The first couple of weeks after that meeting were a blur. I transferred the money, $44,000, into Sophia's accounts, paid off the debts, and thought that would be the end of it. I'd saved her. I'd stepped in like I always did, and everything would go back to normal. That's what I told myself. But it didn't. For one thing, Sophia wasn't the same after I helped her. I could tell she felt guilty. Every time I saw her, she seemed to shrink into herself a little more. She couldn't look me in the eye, always deflecting my questions with half-hearted excuses or awkward silence. I was trying to be patient, but it was hard. She didn't thank me properly, not that I expected a grand gesture, but the usual, "I owe you one," or "you saved my ass," was completely absent. It left a bitter taste in my mouth. And then there was Ethan. I'd been trying to avoid him since I stepped into this mess, but, of course, he wasn't one to let me off the hook. Ethan called me a few days after the money was transferred. I didn't answer at first, but then he texted me, asking if I was ready to talk. I thought, maybe, just maybe, we could clear the air. Maybe I'd get some kind of apology from him for what he'd done to Sophia, but instead, when we met, it was worse than I imagined. I met him at a bar near my apartment. He'd insisted on meeting in person, and I didn't want to drag Sophia into it. She was already so fragile from everything. The moment he walked in, his cocky grin made my skin crawl. He was wearing a tailored suit and had that "I'm better than you" aura that made my stomach turn. "Adam, thanks for coming," Ethan said, his tone dripping with sarcasm. I wanted to clear something up. "Yeah," I said, keeping my voice even, though I could feel my fists clenching at my sides. "What's there to clear up?" "Well, first off, I want to apologize for the whole mess," he said with a lazy shrug. "But, things happen. I didn't mean to drag Sophia into it, but we were just trying to live our lives." I let out a short, frustrated laugh. "You didn't mean to drag her into it? Ethan, you used her. You put everything under her name, ran up all those bills, and now I'm the one who has to clean it up." Ethan waved a hand dismissively. "Come on, man. She wanted to help. You know how she is. She's always been the one to fix everyone's problems. Hell, she probably likes the drama. Women like that kind of thing." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "She's not some drama queen for you to manipulate. She's my cousin. And if you ever hurt her again, if you ever put her in a position like that again, I'll make sure you regret it." Ethan leaned in, his face suddenly cold. "Listen, Adam. I know you think you're some knight in shining armor, but the truth is, you're just her safety net. You think you're helping her? You're not. You're just buying her time to screw up again." I felt my blood pressure spike. "You think this is just about saving her from you? You think I didn't know the consequences when I paid off her debt? This isn't just about the money, Ethan. This is about her life, and you're ruining it." His smirk returned. "Look, you're acting like she's some poor little girl, but she's a grown woman. And if you're honest with yourself, Adam, you're not doing this out of kindness. You're doing it because it makes you feel like you matter to her." That hit harder than anything else he'd said. I opened my mouth to argue, but something in me broke. He was right. Part of me didn't just want to help her. I wanted her to need me. I wanted to feel like the one person who could save her from all the mess she constantly found herself in. And I hated myself for it. "You know what, Ethan? I'm done with this," I said, standing up abruptly. "You're on your own. Don't come near Sophia again." As I walked out of the bar, I realized something that made me sick to my stomach. Ethan might have been right about one thing. I wasn't just helping Sophia because I cared. I wanted to be her hero, the one who swooped in and fixed everything. And the worst part was, I couldn't tell if I was doing it for her or for me. After that night with Ethan, I tried to keep my distance from both him and Sophia. I wasn't about to let that guy manipulate me or her any longer, but things weren't as easy as I had hoped. Sophia didn't reach out to me for a few days, and when she finally did, it was almost like nothing had happened. She texted me some generic, "how's it going" message, like everything was fine, but I could tell something was off. I didn't know if it was guilt or shame, but she was different. She wasn't the same cousin I'd always known, and I didn't know how to handle it. I tried to be patient. I really did. I wanted to believe that she was just processing everything, that this was a big wake-up call for her, and that she'd figure out how to move forward. But it didn't play out that way. A week later, she invited me to lunch. At first, I thought it might be her way of apologizing or explaining things. I thought maybe, just maybe, I could finally get some answers about what had really happened with Ethan. I wanted to understand why she hadn't come to me sooner, why she had let things go so far. When I showed up, though, she was already seated, her hands nervously twisting the napkin in front of her. She looked even more drained than before, and when she saw me, she gave me a weak smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Hey," she said quietly, almost too quietly. "I've been meaning to talk to you." I sat down across from her, trying not to feel the weight of the silence. "I'm listening." Her voice was shaky. "I know you're upset with me. I don't blame you. I should have told you sooner. But Adam, I didn't know how. I didn't want you to see me as weak." I was still trying to hold on to my anger, but it was starting to feel hollow. "Soph, this isn't about being weak. It's about trust. You let someone take advantage of you, and I had to come in and fix it." Her eyes welled up with tears, but she quickly wiped them away. "I know, and I'm so sorry. But there's something I need to tell you." I froze. I wasn't prepared for whatever she was about to say, but I knew it was coming. There was always this tension between us, like a string pulled too tight, and now it was ready to snap. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice breaking, "I'm still with him." I couldn't breathe for a second. I felt like I was drowning, the words she just said sinking into my chest like lead. "You're... what?" My voice sounded foreign, like it wasn't even mine. "You're still with him? After everything? After what he did to you?" She nodded, her head hanging low. "I know it's messed up. I don't want to be this person, but Adam, I love him. I really do. And I thought if I just fixed things, if I could make it work, then everything would be okay." I felt like the room was spinning. I had just spent my last dime, my last ounce of energy, trying to pull her out of the hole Ethan had shoved her into. I had given up so much for her, my money, my time, my peace of mind, and this was the thanks I was getting? "You're still with him? After all this?" I repeated, my voice rising, the hurt creeping in. "Soph, he used you, he took advantage of you, and you're still with him?" "I know," she whispered, barely above a breath. "But it's complicated. I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like I'm stuck." I wanted to scream at her. I wanted to shake her and tell her to wake up, but I couldn't. I could only sit there, numb, watching as the cousin I had always tried to protect slowly slipped further and further into the mess I had hoped to save her from. "You're choosing him over me?" I asked, my voice quieter now, defeated. Sophia flinched. "I don't want to hurt you. I never wanted to hurt you, Adam, but I need to make this decision for myself, and I don't know if you'll understand, but I need to try. I need to make it work with him." I felt something inside me snap. The anger, the frustration, the betrayal. It all hit me in a wave, and for a moment, I didn't know what to do with it. How could she do this? After everything I had done for her, after everything I had sacrificed, she was choosing him. The worst part? I wasn't surprised. Deep down, I had known this would happen. I had known all along that Sophia was too caught up in the idea of love, the idea of having someone who made her feel special, even if that person didn't deserve it. And now, here I was, left with nothing but a pile of bills and a cousin who would rather live in a fantasy than face reality. I stood up abruptly, my chair scraping against the floor. "I can't do this. I can't help you anymore, Sophia. If you want to keep digging yourself into this hole, that's on you." "Adam, please." She started to reach out to me, but I stepped back. "Number, I can't keep saving you from your own choices. I've done enough." And with that, I walked out. I could hear her calling after me, but I didn't turn back. The days after that lunch with Sophia felt like a blur. I spent most of the week buried in work, trying to keep my mind occupied so I wouldn't spiral further into the mess I'd just walked away from. I had no idea what I expected from that conversation, but what I got was the complete opposite of what I needed. She had chosen him, and there was nothing I could do about it. I wanted to be angry, but mostly I just felt empty. I wanted to scream at her, to make her understand how much she was destroying herself. But the reality was, I had no one to blame but myself. I should have known. I should have seen it coming. It wasn't like this was the first time she had chosen the wrong guy, but I had always been there to catch her when she fell. I'd convinced myself that this time would be different, that maybe this time she'd realize what was really important. I was fooling myself, and now I was paying the price. Then, 2 weeks after that disastrous lunch, I got the phone call. It was from Emma, my sister. She sounded frantic, more out of breath than usual. Adam, where are you? I need you to come over. Now it's Sophia. She's in trouble. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. My heart started racing as I grabbed my jacket and ran out of my apartment, barely remembering to grab my keys. What happened? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, even though I could feel my pulse thumping in my ears. Just get here, Emma said, her voice shaking. She's at Ethan's. I don't know what's going on, but she's saying things, and it's bad, really bad. I need you to come. My mind was already running in 1,000 different directions. I didn't even know what I was expecting when I got there. Was it some kind of accident? A fight? I knew Sophia was struggling, but I didn't think it would get this far. I didn't think she'd hit rock bottom so quickly. When I arrived at Emma's place, she was standing at the door, pacing nervously. Where is she? I demanded, my chest tight. Emma stepped aside, letting me in. She didn't answer right away, just motioned for me to follow her. My stomach twisted into knots as I stepped into the living room and saw Sophia. She was sitting on the couch, staring blankly at the wall, her face pale and drawn. Her eyes were glassy, distant. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Sophia? I said, my voice cracking slightly as I knelt down in front of her. Hey, talk to me. What's going on? She didn't respond. She just stared at me, like she wasn't even seeing me. I could feel my panic rising. This wasn't normal. This wasn't just her being distant or guilty about what had happened with the debt. This was something else. Sophia, please, I said, a little more urgently now, shaking her shoulders lightly. You have to talk to me. Her eyes flickered toward me, and for a moment, it felt like she was about to say something. But then she just shook her head, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm so sorry, Adam, she said, her voice trembling. I don't know what to do anymore. That was when I noticed the marks on her arms, faint bruises, some of them darkening in color, some still fresh. The air in the room seemed to freeze. My heart dropped. I didn't need to ask to know who had done this. Ethan. She had been with him this whole time, and now I was seeing the consequences of that choice. I stood up quickly, my hands clenched into fists. Sophia, what the hell happened? What did he do to you? Her eyes filled with tears, and she buried her face in her hands, sobbing uncontrollably. I didn't mean for it to get this bad, she whispered between sobs. It's just, I don't know how to get out of it, Adam. He won't let me leave. I felt like I had been hit by a truck. This wasn't just some minor fallout from a bad relationship. This wasn't a simple case of a toxic boyfriend. This was abuse. Without thinking, I grabbed my phone and called the police. As soon as I had the number dialed, I realized that this wasn't just about saving her anymore. I couldn't stand by and let her stay in this situation. No matter what she said, no matter how much she might still feel tied to him, I had to make sure she was safe. The sound of the dispatcher's voice was a blur in my mind. I gave them the address, explained what I knew, and told them about the situation. I knew that the cops couldn't do much without her full cooperation, but at least they would be there when we needed them. I need you to listen to me, Soph, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, though I felt my heart racing. This isn't love. It's not. And you're not stuck. You don't have to stay with him. I'm here now. I'm going to help you get out of this, I promise. She shook her head violently, her eyes wide with panic. I can't leave him, Adam. He'll hurt me. He said he'd find me. He said if I left, he'd make me regret it. The words were like a slap in the face. This wasn't just a fight. This wasn't just an unhealthy relationship. This was manipulation and control. I looked over at Emma, who was standing by the door, her eyes filled with concern. You have to get out of here, Sophia, I said firmly. You don't have to go back to him. He can't keep doing this to you. But Sophia just shook her head again, her tears falling freely now. I'm scared, Adam. I don't know what to do. I couldn't blame her. I couldn't imagine the kind of fear she was living with. But I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to let her go back. Not this time. Just as I was about to say more, there was a knock at the door. It was the police. And for the first time in weeks, I felt like I could finally breathe again. The police officers were calm, but there was an urgency in the way they moved, and I could tell they knew exactly how to handle situations like this. I explained everything as best as I could, about the bruises, Sophia's fear, the control Ethan had over her, and her hesitance to leave him. They asked a few follow-up questions, but they could see the state she was in. One officer, a woman in her early 40s, crouched down in front of Sophia. She spoke softly, trying to reassure her without pushing too hard. Sophia, we're here to help you. You don't have to go back to him. You're not alone in this. Sophia's eyes flickered nervously between me and the officer. She looked like she wanted to say something, but the words seemed to get stuck in her throat. I could feel my chest tightening. I hated how paralyzed she was in that moment. I hated that she was still afraid of Ethan, even when she was surrounded by people who cared for her. The officer kept her voice steady. Do you want to file a report? Do you want to leave, Sophia? Sophia looked at me. I could see the conflict in her eyes, the battle between wanting to escape and being too scared to make a move. And in that split second, I realized just how much control Ethan had over her. It wasn't just the physical bruises, it was the way he had twisted her perception of herself, made her feel like there was nowhere to turn. I took a deep breath. You don't have to decide everything right now, I said softly, trying to give her space. But please, listen to me. I know you're scared. I get it. But I'm not going to let him do this to you anymore. You don't have to do it alone. She wiped her eyes, still looking at the floor, then back at me. But I don't know where to go. He'll find me. I don't know what to do. The officer nodded and stood up, speaking to her gently. That's why we're here. We'll take you somewhere safe. You don't have to stay here anymore. Sophia's lip trembled, and I could see her fighting the urge to fall apart. I stepped closer to her, crouching down beside her. You can stay with me. I've got a guest room. You can take as much time as you need to figure things out. I'm not leaving you alone in this, Soph. You don't have to go back to him. There was a long pause, and I could see her tears starting again. But this time, they weren't just tears of fear. They were tears of relief. Relief that there was an option, that there was a way out. Finally, she nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. Okay, I'll go with you. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders, but it didn't feel like relief. Not completely. I knew this was just the beginning of a long, difficult road. Sophia had a long way to go before she could heal, and honestly, I wasn't sure if I was ready for it. But there was no turning back now. She needed me. I turned to the officer who was still standing by the door. Thank you, I said, my voice thick. I don't think she would have agreed to leave without your help. The officer gave me a nod. She's in good hands now. If you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. I offered her a small, grateful smile and then turned to Sophia. The officer made a few notes before heading out with her partner, leaving us alone with the heavy silence that followed. I helped Sophia stand, and she clung to me as we walked out of the apartment. I could feel her trembling, but it wasn't just fear. It was exhaustion. I could see the weight of the last few months, even the last few years bearing down on her. She wasn't just leaving Ethan. She was leaving behind a part of herself that she'd lost along the way. When we got to my place, I set her up in the guest room, making sure she had everything she needed. I didn't know what she wanted to talk about, or if she even wanted to talk at all. She didn't say much after we arrived, but I could feel her eyes following me around the house, like she wasn't sure where she belonged anymore. I made dinner, nothing fancy, just some pasta and salad, but the silence between us was thick. Every now and then, I'd catch her staring out the window, her face a mask of exhaustion and confusion. It was around 10 p.m. when she finally spoke. I don't know if I can do this, Adam, she said, her voice trembling. I set my fork down, immediately giving her my full attention. You don't have to do it all at once, Soph. This isn't going to be easy, but I'm here. We'll take it one step at a time. She shook her head. But I don't even know who I am anymore. I spent so much time with him. I don't know how to just let go. He was everything I thought I needed. I don't know who I am without him. I couldn't even begin to imagine what she was going through. The mental toll of an abusive relationship is something I had never experienced, and I felt helpless in that moment. You're not alone anymore, I said, my voice steady but soft. You're safe now. And that's the first step. You'll figure out who you are, Soph. It won't happen overnight, but you'll get there. She sniffed, wiping at her eyes again. I don't know if I can go back to the person I was before. I've hurt you too. You've done so much for me, and I didn't even... Don't apologize. I cut her off, my heart aching for her. I helped you because I love you, Soph. I don't want you to feel like you owe me anything. I just want you to heal. You don't have to carry this alone. The tears finally came then, real, raw sobs, and she let herself lean into me, finally releasing the weight of everything she had been carrying. I held her, not knowing what else to say, just letting her feel the safety that had been so long denied to her. I didn't know how long it would take, or what the future would hold. But I knew one thing. I wasn't going to let her slip through my fingers again. I wasn't going to let her fall back into the darkness. This was just the beginning. The next few days were a blur. It wasn't just the chaos of Sophia trying to adjust to her new life without Ethan. It was the lingering tension, the quiet moments where I saw her staring at the walls, lost in thought. I could tell she was struggling with the decision she had made to leave him, but it wasn't just him she was trying to escape. She was trying to escape everything. The guilt, the shame, the self-doubt. She had been so caught up in him, in that toxic relationship, that she didn't know how to breathe without him. I couldn't blame her for that. I couldn't imagine the kind of mental and emotional weight she had been carrying for so long. And as much as I wanted to tell her that everything would be okay, I knew it wasn't that simple. Healing wasn't linear. There would be good days, and there would be bad days. I just had to be there when the bad days came. It wasn't long before I realized how deep the scars ran, though. It wasn't just the bruises on her body that were visible. It was the bruises in her mind, the parts of her that Ethan had chipped away at over time. There were nights when she wouldn't sleep, just staring at the ceiling, replaying the arguments, the manipulations, the way she'd felt small and worthless whenever he belittled her. I tried to keep the atmosphere light at first, hoping to ease some of the tension. We spent evenings watching movies, trying to laugh over the little things, but I could always tell that her mind was somewhere else, in a place I couldn't reach. Sometimes I'd find her sitting in the living room, staring at her phone, hesitant to answer any calls or texts. I knew she was waiting for him to reach out, and it hurt me to see her still drawn to him despite everything. I had tried to convince her to change her number, to block him, but she wasn't ready. She wasn't ready to fully sever the connection. She was still trapped in the idea that maybe, just maybe, things could go back to how they were before, all the while knowing deep down that they couldn't, that he would never change, that he would never be the person she wanted him to be. One evening, almost a week after the police had come and she had stayed with me, I found her sitting by the window, looking out into the darkened street below. I had been working on my laptop, but I couldn't focus. Something about her stillness, the way she had been for the past few days, gnawed at me. I closed my laptop and sat next to her. "You doing okay?" I asked, my voice soft, tentative. She didn't immediately respond, her eyes fixed on the streetlights. After a long silence, she finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "Do you ever feel like you're just trapped? Like no matter what you do, you're stuck in the same place?" I didn't need her to explain. I knew exactly what she meant. I had felt that way for years, stuck in my own patterns, unable to break free. But I couldn't tell her that, not right now. "I know what you mean," I said instead. "It's hard to shake the feeling like you're never going to get out of it, but you will, Soph. You're going to get through this." She turned to look at me, her eyes searching mine, looking for something. Hope, maybe. But I could see the doubt in her expression. She didn't believe it. "I don't know how," she admitted, her voice cracking. "I don't know who I am anymore, Adam. I don't know what's left of me." I reached over and put a hand on hers, feeling how cold her skin was, how much she was withdrawing into herself. "You're still you, Soph. You've always been you, but you've been through something that's made you feel like you're not, and it's going to take time. But I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." I could see her trying to process my words, her face drawn with frustration and confusion. I hated that she was still so lost, still so unsure of herself. That night, she did something I hadn't expected. She handed me her phone. "I need to block him, don't I?" she asked quietly. I looked at her, shocked for a moment. "You don't have to do anything you're not ready for, Soph." But she shook her head. "I can't keep living like this. I can't keep waiting for him to text or call, hoping things will change. He's not going to change, and I know that, but I don't know how to stop myself from hoping." I gently took the phone from her and started to go through her contacts, blocking Ethan's number, making sure she had a clean break. She watched me the whole time, her expression a mixture of relief and fear. I finished, handed her the phone back, and said, "You don't need him anymore. You don't need anyone who doesn't make you feel safe, who doesn't make you feel worthy." She nodded, but there was still that doubt in her eyes, that fear of the unknown. I knew it wasn't going to be easy. She had to mourn the relationship, mourn the person she thought he was, even though he had never been that person. The following days were a blur of small victories and setbacks. There were moments where Sophia seemed to be doing better, getting out of bed earlier, eating more, talking to me more openly about her feelings. But there were also moments where she would completely shut down, retreating into herself, unsure of how to navigate the space between us and her past. One morning, about 2 weeks after the police had intervened, Sophia came to me while I was sitting at the kitchen table, sipping my coffee. She was holding something in her hands, a small piece of paper. She handed it to me without saying a word. It was a letter from Ethan. I didn't even have to open it to know what it said. The handwriting was messy, urgent. I'd seen it enough times in the messages he had sent to her, but I opened it anyway, and as I read, my heart sank. It was the same manipulative bullshit I had expected. He was sorry. He missed her. He promised things would be different this time. He begged for another chance. But I didn't read the whole thing. I didn't need to. I saw enough to know that he was trying to reel her back in, trying to convince her that things would be different if she just came back, that he could fix things. I could see Sophia's hands trembling as she watched me read. She was waiting for me to say something, to make some kind of decision for her. But I wasn't going to do that. Instead, I put the letter down and looked at her. You don't have to answer it, Soph. You don't have to go back. You've come this far, and you're stronger than you think. She nodded, her eyes filled with emotion, and I could see the struggle inside her. It wasn't just a decision about Ethan. It was a decision about herself, about whether she could finally put herself first, whether she could learn to trust herself again. You don't have to be afraid, I said softly. You can let go now. It's okay to let go. Sophia stared at the letter for a long time before she finally picked it up, walked to the trash can, and ripped it into pieces. I watched as she threw it away, her face a mix of relief and sorrow. But when she turned back to me, her eyes were clearer, like something had shifted in her. I'm going to be okay, Adam, she said, her voice steady for the first time in weeks. I'm going to figure it out. And for the first time, I truly believed her.